Namaste, friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about a major diplomatic bombshell that's shaking up international relations. Imagine this. A peaceful country like Australia suddenly expels an ambassador, closes its embassy in a foreign nation, and labels an elite military force as terrorists. Why? Because they've accused Iran of secretly directing anti-Semitic attacks right on Australian soil. Yes, you heard that right. In a move that's being called historic, the first expulsion of an ambassador since World War II, Australia is pointing fingers at Tehran for orchestrating violence against Jewish communities. But is this just about two arson attacks, or is it tied to the bigger mess of the Israel-Hamas war? Stick around as we unpack the facts, the context, and what this means for global politics. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Let's start with the basics. On Tuesday, that's just a few days ago as of this video, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese dropped a bombshell. He revealed that Australia's domestic spy agency, the Australian Security Intelligence Organization, or ASIO, has credible intelligence linking Iran to at least two anti-Semitic attacks last year. The first one happened on October 20th in Sydney. Attackers set fire to Lewis's Continental Kitchen, a Jewish-owned business. Then, on December 6th in Melbourne, the Adass Israel Synagogue was targeted in another arson attack. Both caused major property damage. We're talking flames gutting buildings. But thankfully, no one was hurt. Albanese called these extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. And get this, ASIO's head, Mike Burgess, said it's likely Iran was behind even more incidents. But importantly, no Iranian diplomats in Australia were directly involved. So how did this happen? Intelligence suggests it was directed from afar, probably through proxies or online influence, by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, that elite force loyal to Iran's supreme leader. Friends, this isn't isolated. Since the Israel-Hamas war kicked off almost 2 years ago on October 7th, 2023, Australia has seen a massive surge in anti-Semitic incidents. Homes, schools, synagogues, even cars, all targeted. ASIO is investigating if Iran played a role in others, but not every case is linked to Tehran. Still, it's clear. Foreign interference is fueling hate right in the heart of a multicultural democracy like Australia. So, what did Australia do? They didn't hold back. First, they expelled the Iranian ambassador from Canberra. That's the diplomat representing Iran in Australia. Second, they're closing their own embassy in Tehran, with all diplomats already safely out. And third, this is huge, they're officially listing the IRGC as a terrorist organization. Albanese said this is to undermine social cohesion and sow discord, and it's totally unacceptable. Foreign Minister Penny Wong emphasized it's the first such expulsion since WE1, but Australia will keep some diplomatic lines open to protect its citizens' interests. Now let's analyze this. On one hand, it's a strong stand against foreign meddling and rising anti-Semitism. The Israeli embassy in Australia cheered it, saying on X, formerly Twitter, that Iran's regime is not only a threat to Jews or Israel, it endangers the entire free world, including Australia. 40D1F4, that's a powerful endorsement. But on the other hand, is this purely about justice, or is it influenced by Australia's alliances? Australia is a close U.S. ally, and the U.S. has long designated the IRGC as terrorists. Plus, with the Israel-Hamas war raging, Western countries are under pressure to side with Israel against Iran-backed groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. Think about it. Expelling an ambassador escalates tensions. Iran could retaliate, maybe economically or through proxies elsewhere. And closing the embassy? That cuts off direct channels, making diplomacy harder. Friends, while I support cracking down on hate and terrorism, governments must be transparent. Is ASIO's credible intelligence rock solid, or could it be exaggerated for political points? We'll come back to that. To understand this, we have to zoom out to the root cause, the Israel-Hamas war. It started on October 7th, 2023, when Hamas militants attacked Israel, killing about 100 people and abducting 251 hostages. Israel's response has been devastating. Over 62,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza, according to the local health ministry. Figures backed by the UN and experts. Dari 83861. Last week, the world's top hunger authority declared a full-blown famine in Gaza City amid Israel's ongoing offensive. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu called it a lie and denied any starvation policy. This war has divided the world, and Australia is no exception. Thousands joined pro-Palestinian rallies there just on Sunday. Anti-Semitism has spiked globally, but so has Islamophobia. Iran, a key backer of Hamas and Hezbollah, is accused of exporting this conflict, stoking hate abroad to distract from its own issues. But let's be critical. Blaming Iran entirely ignores how the war's brutality fuels radicalization everywhere. Australia's PM Albanese has been vocal. He called Netanyahu in denial about Gaza's humanitarian crisis and announced plans to recognize a Palestinian state, joining other Western nations. Netanyahu fired back, calling Albanese a weak politician who betrayed Israel and saying his record is tarnished forever. Toy 95, Albanese brushed it off, saying he doesn't take it personally. Friends, this expulsion isn't just about two attacks. It's a symptom of how the Middle East conflict is spilling over. Iran uses proxies to project power, while countries like Australia balance support for Israel with calls for Palestinian rights. But at what cost? Rising hate crimes erode social fabric. We need accountability on all sides, from Iran for interference, Israel for the Gaza crisis, and Western governments for consistent human rights stances. So what are the implications? For Australia, this strengthens ties with Israel and the US, but risks Iranian retaliation. Think cyber attacks or support for extremists elsewhere. Globally, it adds pressure on Iran, already sanctioned heavily, but it also highlights a double standard. Why label the IRGC terrorists now when anti-Semitic attacks have been rising for months? In my opinion, and this is where I get a bit wrathy-like, governments like Australia's must do more than expel diplomats. They need to invest in community education, counter online hate, and push for a real Gaza ceasefire. Otherwise, these strong actions are just band-aids on a deeper wound of global inequality and unresolved conflicts. Iran's regime is authoritarian and dangerous, no doubt, but endless wars only breed more violence. We need diplomacy, not just expulsions. Friends, Australia's move against Iran is a wake-up call. Foreign powers meddling in domestic hate is unacceptable, but so is ignoring the human cost of wars like Israel-Hamas. What do you think? Is this justified or escalation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, smash that like button, subscribe for more in-depth global analysis, and share with friends who care about these issues. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.
Since the terrible events of October 7, 2023, we have witnessed a number of appalling anti-Semitic attacks against Australia's Jewish community. ASIO has now gathered enough credible intelligence to reach a deeply disturbing conclusion that the Iranian government directed at least two of these attacks. Iran has sought to disguise its involvement, but ASIO assesses it was behind the attacks on the Lewis Continental Kitchen in Sydney on October 20 last year, and the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne on December 6 last year. ASIO assesses it is likely Iran directed further attacks as well. A short time ago, we informed the Iranian ambassador to Australia that he would be expelled. We have suspended operations at our embassy in Tehran, and all our diplomats are now safe in a third country. I can also announce the government will legislate to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as a terrorist organisation.
ASIO is still investigating possible Iranian involvement in a number of other attacks, but I want to stress we do not believe the regime is responsible for every act of anti-Semitism in Australia. The embassy was not involved. No Iranian diplomats here in Australia were involved in this. This was directed by the IRGC through a series of overseas cutouts facilitators to coordinators that found their way to tasking Australians. Some of the alleged perpetrators did this because they were paid to do it. The IRGC has form in going after dissidents or anyone they consider a threat to the regime in other countries, but this is particularly unique to Australia in terms of having a crack at our social cohesion.
Any attack on our social cohesion is an attack on Australia. We are proud of the country that we've built, a country where people can live overwhelmingly side by side of different faith, of different background, in harmony. We cherish it, we protect it, we defend it, and that's what we're doing here today.